When the families come to us, they're usually in a pretty vulnerable and difficult place. They have reached a point where they realize that they can't provide all the care that their person needs, but they want to make sure that they get the best care possible. And when they come here, I think they're not sure whether we can provide that. It's a process. It's a process of building that trust so that when they start to see how we work with their loved one, their husband or their mother, they can see how much care we put into learning the person, what they like, what they enjoy, what really engages them. And when they see that we get it, they start to trust and they start to relax. And they're able to focus on their work when they're at work and their loved one is with us, or they're able to take a few hours to go back to the gym or go swimming or meet with old friends for lunch. And they're not worried about where their person is.
Well, it's been very important for me because Penny has, with her memory troubles, has been having an increasingly difficult time finding things on her own that she's able to do and ways to stay engaged with the world and be creative and do interesting things. And so when we found Iona, it was great because it brought a lot into her life and brought a lot of things that she's able to do now that if she was just on her own, she wouldn't be able to.
Pretty much anybody can walk through the door. Any walk of life, any individual. It's quite amazing to me to get to know the background of all of these individuals, that they come from such different life experiences. There are gentlemen that I've worked with that are very analytical and they've worked for the government, or they were an electrician or a lawyer, and they've never done art before, and they come in the studio and they're asked to do something more creative, something very unnatural to them, and they end up becoming very avid artists and very much a big part of our community. And then there are individuals that have done art in their past, and it's a part of their life experience and something that always has been very powerful and meaningful to them. And then this is kind of giving them a new opportunity to reconnect with it in a different way. I think the biggest benefit in integrating art into the work with this population is the communication facet. A lot of these individuals are beginning to struggle with their ability to express themselves verbally. So art provides them this nonverbal tool. It's safe, it's contained, it's immediate, it's in the moment that they can share and express their thoughts, feelings, and life experiences. And I think for many of those individuals, that's primarily the biggest benefit of integrating art into the therapeutic modality. I think the other big benefit with integrating art is the concept of control. Again, I think a lot of people come into the studio and they're facing so much challenge in their life and within themselves, and there's so much loss, and there's a sense of loss of control over their body, over their mind, over their environment, over their lives. Maybe their keys have just been taken away. All of those things create this sense of loss within oneself and lack of control. So bringing them into a space where they have complete control. They can tear up their art and throw it away. They can mount it and hang it on the wall. They can do what they need to do in that moment to feel control over that situation.
I love it when, I do some things, in the art area, and I just, I got to come home and say, look what I did today, And actually, I think sometimes they're pretty good, and I'm proud of myself. So it's nice. I'm beginning to get back into that, and that came because I came here to kind of wander around to see what I needed to do something.
A woman that I had the pleasure of working with for almost 3 years now, who you might say was a little bit more quiet. She was more of a passive observer, but when she came into the art studio and had the opportunity to reflect and share about her art, her stories were just endless. And it was such a perfect example of how just 1 or 2 lines on paper can have so much purpose and so much meaning to an individual. For her, a lot of her work was reminiscing. It was being able to share about her childhood experiences, whether it be rolling down the hill and getting muddy and getting scolded by her parents, or losing her teeth, or traveling from her home country to the United States on a ship for 3 months and what that experience was like for her. And it was also about giving her back that sense of freedom. She was somebody that was in a wheelchair, so there was a lot of vulnerability around that experience and what that was like for her, and not feeling she had control physically of herself and couldn't run away if she needed to. So being in that space with her art, it gave her that opportunity, as she would describe, to feel free, to feel the breeze on her face, to hear the birds chirping in the environment. And I remember there was a moment she drew a circle on the piece of paper, and I asked her to tell me a little bit about what she was creating today. And she said, well, it's an apple, of course. And I said, well, tell me more about this apple. And she reached out in front of her and she picked the apple and brought it to her mouth and took a big bite of it. And you could just see her closing her eyes and enjoying that sweet taste. And then she slyly looked at me and offered me a bite, which I very willingly took to be in that space with her. But it was just such a beautiful moment of describing and sharing how art is so powerful, that it really allows someone to be in that space, to feel it, to taste it. And it's just amazing. And I remember she looked at me at one point and she said, I'm just so thankful that you take the time to listen to my story. And I looked back at her and I said, I'm just so thankful that you're willing to share it. So we actually have been collaborating with the Phillips Collection for the past 3 years now, and it's been a really, really wonderful collaboration. They're a local art museum in DuPont Circle, and the concept behind the collaboration is one where we take a group there every other month, and then the Phillips comes here with imagery every other month to give more people an opportunity to be involved in the communication and the discussion. After a year of collaborating with the Phillips, it actually culminates in an art exhibition, which is quite fantastic, at the Phillips Collection. So we actually get to mount and display the individual's artwork that was produced in the art therapy studio at the Phillips for a good month and a half. I think what's so rewarding for me is that I get to be that person that has the time and the space to sit and witness and be present. And I think that can allow so much processing and so much healing to unfold when you just give someone that opportunity to reflect and give them the time they need to process and verbalize, or in a nonverbal way explore what it is that they're experiencing in that moment. I get to be that person that laughs alongside them when they recall a past memory in their life, and I get to be the person that holds them when they cry. And I think that's what's so powerful for me.
Well, one of the things it has done is, because it gives Penny a way of being more engaged with the world, it makes my life much easier, because I know that when I go off to work on the days that Penny's coming to Iona, that she has a good experience waiting for her, and a lot of times a creative outlet that she's coming to. So it's been really great just to have that as part of sort of the stable day-to-day of our lives at this point.
Absolutely, absolutely. It is a godsend. It really has been.